Hello everyone, welcome to Marriage is Not the End. Today's story might remind you of those reckless, all-in kinds of love you had when you were young. Or it might make you grateful that sometimes, you're lucky enough to see someone's true colors before the wedding. On the day of graduation, Emily was running all over campus like a madwoman, clutching a pregnancy test report, searching for her boyfriend, Zach. She had taken the overnight train back just for this half day. Ever since they started working, they had been in a long-distance relationship, one in the south, one in the north, separated by nearly 2,000 miles. Graduation day had been their long-planned reunion. Emily had asked her company for leave a whole month in advance and had to beg repeatedly just to get a day and a half approved. To her, even if it was just one meeting, even if it was just one hug, it would be worth it. But after searching the entire campus, she still couldn't find Zach. Her calls wouldn't go through. Her messages disappeared into silence. Emily was frantic, like an ant on a hot pan, contacting everyone she could think of. Finally, Zach's roommate told her to stop looking. He's playing truth or dare. Emily stood frozen on the steps in front of the academic building, still gripping the pregnancy report in her hand. 2 days earlier, she had been throwing up violently in the company restroom when a coworker suggested she might be pregnant. Her heart skipped a beat. When she counted the dates, something did feel off. She bought a test from a pharmacy, 2 lines. Still uneasy, she went to the hospital for a blood test. When the results came out, her hands were shaking. The first thing she did was message Zach, *I might be pregnant. What should we do? It took him a long time to reply. *Be good. I'm busy. Let's talk when we see each other at graduation. Emily believed him. She even made excuses for him in her own mind. He must be busy with graduation matters. Busy packing. Busy with something important. But he was playing truth or dare. Emily took a photo of the pregnancy report and sent it to him. Zach, I'm really pregnant. What should we do? She sat on the steps waiting for a reply, still wearing her graduation gown. The June sun was scorching her scalp, but she didn't care. She just stared at her phone screen, waiting for that familiar name to light up. Not long after, Zach replied. It's okay. Once we graduate, we'll get married. I'll give you and the baby a home. The moment Emily read those words, her eyes welled up with tears. She remembered 2 months earlier when Zach had braved a snowstorm to visit her city. That night he showed up downstairs at her office building, travel-worn, snow clinging to his hair and eyelashes. The first thing he did when he saw her was pull her into his arms. Nyan, I missed you. 1,000 miles apart, and he came anyway, overnight train, unwilling even to pay for a sleeper berth, sitting in a hard seat for more than 10 hours. That night when they were together, Emily had asked him to buy condoms. Zach brushed it off. Don't worry. If you get pregnant, I'll marry you. We're getting married after graduation anyway. I'll give you and the baby a home. Emily had completely fallen under the spell of the tenderness in his eyes. She believed this man truly loved her. She believed he truly wanted to spend his life with her. So when the pregnancy report actually appeared in her hands, Emily was nervous, but deep down she felt secure. Zach had already said he would marry her. They had always planned to get married after graduation anyway. Now it was just happening a little earlier. She even started planning ahead. Should she quit her job and move to his city, or should he come to hers? They couldn't keep doing long distance. With a baby on the way, they needed a stable home. Emily drafted a resignation email and sent it to her boss. Something urgent came up at home. I need to resign. Her boss asked what happened. I'm getting married, she replied. Her boss was genuinely happy for her. Congratulations. Don't forget to invite me to the wedding. Emily smiled and said she would. Then she canceled her return ticket for that afternoon. She thought that once Zach finished whatever he was doing that evening, she would give him this surprise. But Zach seemed to vanish into thin air. For 3 whole days, Emily couldn't reach him. Every time she called, it either said he was already on another call or the phone was turned off. She went to his rented apartment and waited. She knocked on the door countless times. No answer. Emily started to panic. What if something had happened? What if he got sick? What if there was an accident? She contacted every friend of his she could find, asking if they knew where Zach was. Finally, his roommate Chris sent her a location pin. Zach might be here. Go check. Emily followed the navigation. It led her to a hotel. She stood outside the hotel entrance, completely stunned. At the doorway was a large wedding signboard displaying a beautifully retouched wedding photo. In the picture, the couple embraced intimately. One of them was her boyfriend, Zach. The other was his childhood sweetheart, Ashley. Emily thought she must be seeing things. She checked the sign again and again. The groom's name, Zach Chen. The bride's name, Ashley Huang. She stood there as the wind stung her eyes, her mind completely blank. 3 days ago, the man who texted saying he would marry her and give her and their baby a home. How could he be the groom in this photo? Inside the hotel, there was laughter and lively chatter. As if possessed, Emily walked in. She spotted Zach immediately. A figure she could never mistake, even if he were reduced to ashes. At that moment, he had one arm wrapped casually around Ashley's waist, moving from table to table offering toasts. Smiling, he said to the guests, "Welcome to Ashley and my wedding." When Zach saw Emily, a flash of panic crossed his eyes, but it disappeared quickly. He set down his wine glass and walked over. "Emily, what are you doing here?" Emily's eyes were red, but her expression was calm. "Zach," she said, "how did you end up becoming someone else's groom?" Zach's eyes darted around. He stammered, about to explain, when Ashley suddenly spoke up beside him in a tearful voice. "Emily, my mom is dying. Her last wish was to see me marry Zach. Zach is only helping me. If you're going to blame someone, blame me." Zach immediately wrapped Ashley in a protective embrace and looked at Emily coldly. "I lost a round of truth or dare, so I had to fake marry Ashley. Once we fulfill her mom's wish, I'll explain everything to you. Stop making a scene." Emily stood there, staring at the way Zach held Ashley, so natural, so intimate, like he had always been her groom. She smiled, but the smile was full of self-mockery. "Zach," she said quietly, "there's no need to explain." Then she turned and walked away. As she stepped out of the hotel, she instinctively looked back. Zach hadn't followed her. He was still standing beside Ashley, smiling at the guests. That very night, both Zach and Ashley posted on social media announcing their marriage. Zach's comment section exploded. Many mutual friends left messages asking what was going on. Asterisk, "Wasn't your girlfriend Emily? How did your wife suddenly change?" Asterisk, Zach didn't reply. After a while, those questioning comments quietly disappeared. Emily didn't sleep that entire night. Lying in bed, tossing and turning, she thought about many things. In truth, the situation between Zach and Ashley hadn't appeared out of nowhere. The signs had always been there. Zach's jackets would often end up at Ashley's house, and the next day Ashley would personally bring them to his classroom. Ashley knew what flavor of gum Zach liked. She knew he was allergic to peanuts. Yet in their 4 years of dating, Zach had never told Emily any of these things. Emily had gotten jealous and upset before. Each time, Zach would soften his tone and coax her. "Ashley and I grew up together. She's known me since I was running around in diapers. It's not strange that she knows I'm allergic to peanuts. You're my girlfriend. You're the one I love the most." He would laugh and say, "If I liked her, we would have gotten together long ago. It wouldn't have been your lucky day to pick me up." And Emily believed him. So when Emily heard that Zach and Ashley had gone hiking together and even slept in the same tent overnight, she only felt a little uncomfortable. She didn't think too much about it. Looking back now, she felt she had been unbelievably stupid. Early the next morning, Emily packed her things with dark circles under her eyes and scheduled an appointment at the hospital for an abortion. After hearing the news, her best friend messaged her, "Asterisk, have you really thought this through? What Zach did was awful, but maybe you should wait and hear his explanation first." Asterisk, Emily shook her head. There was no point anymore. If it had truly just been a lost round of truth or dare and a fake marriage, there was no reason for him to publicly announce the wedding on social media. Besides, his story and Ashley's didn't even line up. Ashley said it was her mother's dying wish, but as someone who lived right next door growing up, she had always known Zach already had a girlfriend. Even if Emily gave him time to explain, she would probably just hear another lie. She would never forget the look in Zach's eyes at the wedding, his arm around Ashley's waist, the guarded, defensive expression when he looked at her. In that moment, she had been certain, something had definitely been going on between them. Emily sat in the hospital hallway waiting for her number to be called. When she looked up, she saw two familiar figures. Ashley was leaning against Zach's shoulder, their fingers tightly intertwined. Ashley seemed to be crying, and Zach was comforting her with a pained expression. Number 17, Emily. Her name had been called. As Emily stood up to leave, she couldn't help glancing back. Ashley lifted her head from Zach's shoulder. The two of them looked at each other. Then Ashley leaned forward and kissed Zach on the lips. Zach froze for a moment, but he didn't refuse. Ashley became more and more passionate, wrapping her arms around his neck, closing her eyes as she kissed him deeply. Zach's arms slowly came up and returned the embrace. Emily closed her eyes and walked decisively into the consultation room. 2 hours later, Emily lay pale on the hospital bed. She gently placed her hand on her abdomen and silently said goodbye to the child in her heart. On the day she was discharged, Emily was still a little pale but mostly recovered. While completing the discharge procedures, she ran into Zach again at the hospital entrance. He was holding 2 boxed meals. Ashley's shoelace had come undone, and she said in a sweet, spoiled tone, "Zach, can you tie my shoelace? Love you." Zach glanced down and smiled indulgently. Sure enough, he crouched down. He handed the meal box to Ashley and said, "You little dummy, hold this for me first." Ashley laughed and took it. Zach lowered his head and carefully tied her shoelace. At that moment, countless memories from their past together flooded Emily's mind. Zach used to say she was clumsy and couldn't even tie her shoelaces properly. But whenever she was with him, he would always crouch down and tie them for her. He would even joke, "If one day I'm not by your side anymore, what are you going to do?" But now, he was tying another girl's shoelaces. Emily clenched her fists. For all the times she hadn't seen, under the excuse of childhood friends, who knew how many intimate moments like this he had already shared with Ashley, her emotions spiraled out of control. Through tear-blurred eyes, Zach seemed to notice her. He called out in surprise, "Emily? What are you doing here?" Ashley turned around as well, the smile instantly disappearing from her face. Emily said nothing. She walked past them and turned to leave. If Zach had taken a closer look, he would have noticed how unnaturally pale she was. One glance would have told him something was wrong. But Zach stepped in front of her. And he didn't notice. Instead, he frowned, his eyes full of suspicion and coldness. "Emily, I already told you I'll explain everything after this is over. Why are you still stalking us?" Emily stopped in her tracks. If he had cared even a little, he would have seen the weak pallor on her face right now. But instead of noticing, he assumed the worst about her. "Stalking?" Emily turned around, looking at him in disbelief. "You think I'm stalking you?" Zach let out a cold laugh. "You already knew on the wedding day that Ashley and I only got married to fulfill her mom's dying wish. Her mom is sick, so of course she'd be staying at this hospital. You must have found out beforehand." After Zach finished speaking, Ashley chimed in, "Emily, you say you're not stalking us, but then how is it such a coincidence that you also show up here today?" Ashley's tone was aggressive, her expression as if Emily were the one trying to break up someone else's relationship. Emily spoke coldly. "That's because just now, I aborted Zach's child." Ashley stared at her in shock, then frowned and looked at Zach. "Why would she be pregnant? Didn't you promise me you wouldn't, Zach?" Zach quickly interrupted Ashley. Then he looked at Emily and said calmly, "Stop joking. You love children so much. If you were really pregnant, you'd never bring yourself to abort it." He stepped closer, speaking seriously. "Besides, we never broke up. You just need to wait for me. I'll come back to you." Emily turned back slowly, staring at him with a blank expression. "Zach, we already broke up. The moment you secretly registered your marriage with Ashley behind my back, there was no longer any possibility for us." Then she turned and walked away. It had been almost a week already. If Zach had simply picked up his phone and called or texted her, he would have realized she had blocked him everywhere. But he still hadn't noticed. Which meant that during this entire week, he had been busy accompanying Ashley, never once thinking about Emily. When love reaches this point, there's really no reason to keep going. This time, Zach actually left Ashley behind and chased after her. "Emily, what do I have to say for you to believe me? Why do you keep making a scene? Ashley's mom is lying in the hospital right now. She has to see Ashley and me married with her own eyes before she can rest easy. It's just a fake marriage, just acting out a scene. Once her mom passes away, I'll have nothing to do with Ashley. Then we'll get married, okay?" His expression looked sincere. If Emily hadn't personally witnessed the intimacy between him and Ashley, the kind only lovers share, she might have believed him. Now she coldly pushed his hand away. "Then when is her mom going to die? If she doesn't die, are you planning to stay married to her for the rest of your life? Do you expect me to wait forever?" Her question angered Zach. He frowned, clearly irritated. "Emily, how can you say something like that?" Emily shook her head. The disappointment in her heart had already reached its limit. She didn't want to say another word. "Zach, go take care of your childhood sweetheart. From now on, we'll never see each other again." Then she turned and left. Zach called after her from behind but didn't chase her further. Emily got into a taxi at the hospital entrance without hesitation and never looked back. Over the next few days, Emily spent all the savings Zach had left with her out of spite. She bought a lot of nutritional supplements to help her body recover. She threw herself into video games and buried herself in work, trying to forget him. She decided that the day she received her diploma would be the day. She packed up and left the city for good. The day before graduation, Emily received a message from Chris. Asterisk, the debate team is having a gathering tomorrow. It might be the last one. Are you coming? Asterisk, Chris wasn't just Zach's roommate, he had also been Emily's debate partner. Since freshman year, they had been on the same debate team, sharpening arguments together and winning debate after debate. Emily hesitated for a long time. Finally, she replied, I'll go. She never expected that on the way to the gathering, after her car entered a tunnel, they would run into a landslide. Days of non-stop rain had loosened the rocks above the tunnel, and part of the mountainside collapsed. Several people traveling through the tunnel were killed. The rest were trapped inside, waiting for rescue. At the exact moment the landslide happened, falling rocks from above struck Emily's leg. Gritting her teeth through the pain, she quickly dialed 911 and waited for help. But because landslides had also occurred in several nearby areas, ambulances couldn't get through. Rescue crews had to come in on foot. When Chris noticed Emily still hadn't arrived, he texted to ask where she was. Helplessly, she forwarded her location and said she was trapped because of a landslide. He replied immediately, asterisk, I'm coming to find you. Asterisk, Emily actually wanted to tell him not to come. The rescue teams were already on their way, and she was trapped deep inside the tunnel. She figured it wouldn't be long before they reached her. But just then, an exaggerated crying voice came from not far away. Wah, Zach. I got trapped in a landslide on my way to see you. Come save me. My knee is scraped, wah. What a coincidence. Even trapped in a tunnel, Emily had run into Ashley. About 10 minutes later, Emily looked up and saw Zach rushing in, panic and worry written all over his face. His clothes were covered in mud, making him look extremely disheveled. In Emily's memory, Zach had always been a neat freak. Even a small stain on his clothes would make him angry. But now he was filthy from head to toe and didn't care at all. The moment he entered, his eyes locked onto Ashley. He stumbled forward like someone afraid of losing the most precious treasure he had. His first reaction was to pull her tightly into his arms. Ashley burst into tears in his embrace. Zach, I was so scared. I thought I'd never see you again. It's okay, Zach said while gently patting her back. You're fine now. Let me see if you're hurt anywhere. He carefully checked Ashley from head to toe, every movement cautious and attentive. Envious looks surrounded them. Emily heard someone whisper nearby, that girl is so lucky. Her boyfriend loves her so much. Another person said, right? If I had a boyfriend like that, even dying would be worth it. A bitter feeling spread wildly through Emily's chest. Just a few weeks ago, he had still been her boyfriend. But hearts change. Doctor. Zach shouted to the medical workers who had just arrived. There's someone injured here. She needs treatment immediately. Ashley's knee was just bruised, but Zach treated it like a life-or-death situation, insisting she be treated first. The medical staff glanced at it briefly. It's just a bruise. Nothing serious. We need to rescue the others first. But Zach became agitated. A man who normally avoided arguments was suddenly arguing fiercely with the medical staff in this urgent moment. I don't care. My wife was injured in this disaster. You have to treat her first. Zach stared stubbornly at the rescue workers, his attention never leaving Ashley. Please be understanding. Time is critical. There are still people inside waiting to be rescued, one of the medics said with a frown, gesturing in Emily's direction. If Zach had simply turned his head, he would have seen Emily trapped not far away. A massive rock pinned her leg to the ground, leaving her unable to move. The pain was so intense it was starting to numb her. She couldn't even tell whether it was bone pain or flesh tearing anymore. But Zach refused to move. He blocked the medical staff completely and even threatened them. My wife is my life. If she doesn't leave here unharmed, then none of the rest of you are saving anyone. The moment he said that, angry voices erupted around them. How can someone be so selfish? Is his wife's life the only one that matters? Seriously? The medics are doing their job. Why is he making trouble here? If he has time to argue, he should just get out of the way. Once a landslide happens, another one can follow at any moment. This place wasn't safe to stay. The rescue workers sighed deeply under the pressure and had no choice but to stop and treat Ashley first. Ashley looked up at Zach with admiration. Zach, I'm so lucky to have you. Zach affectionately ruffled her hair, the gesture incredibly intimate. Suddenly someone shouted, wait, another landslide is about to happen. Everyone get out of here. People immediately began evacuating. Even Ashley forgot about her injury and quickly got up to run outside. A medic shouted anxiously, there are still people inside. Anyone heading out, please help bring them out too. But no one listened. In a life-or-death moment, everyone was focused on saving themselves. Emily suddenly heard the sound of rocks shifting above her head. She struggled to stand, but the massive rock crushing her leg held her firmly in place. No matter how hard she tried, she couldn't move. Despair nearly suffocated her. Just then, a voice screamed from outside the tunnel, **** Emily. It was Chris. From outside the tunnel entrance, he spotted her immediately, pinned under the rock. His shout made Zach freeze and turn around. Only then did Zach's gaze finally land on Emily, as if he had just realized she was there. There's no time, Zach. We have to go. Ashley shot Emily a glare before grabbing Zach's arm and pulling him toward the exit. Hesitation flashed in Zach's eyes. For a moment it looked like he might run over to save her. But when he glanced up at the trembling rocks above them, he faltered. In the end, he turned around and left with Ashley. Emily let out a miserable laugh. Tears rolled down her face. So this was what it felt like when someone truly stopped loving you. Almost the moment Zach turned away, the tunnel ceiling collapsed again. When Emily opened her eyes again, she found herself lying in a hospital bed. Both legs were wrapped in thick white bandages, and there was gauze on her head as well. She turned her head with difficulty and saw Chris sitting beside her bed, his head propped on one hand, asleep. A swirl of emotions filled her heart. Right before the tunnel collapsed, she had seen Zach supporting Ashley as they hurried away. But the person who rushed toward her without hesitation was Chris. The shock and pain in his eyes at that moment was something Emily would never forget. She suddenly remembered many moments over the years since freshman year, when they had joined the debate team together. Chris had always quietly helped her. He kept a polite distance from her, never saying too much. Even when other classmates chatted with her, he usually just listened quietly without interrupting. But somehow he knew she liked strawberry ice cream, knew she loved chicken noodle stir-fry, and knew she hated drinking soy milk. Over the past few years, Chris had also hinted many times, both openly and subtly, that something wasn't right between Zach and Ashley. But Emily had never considered that possibility, so she brushed it off. Now she lay there quietly, staring at Chris. Only then did she realize he was actually quite handsome. Before, because she had a boyfriend, she had always kept her distance from other guys and never allowed herself to think about anything else. Now she realized how much she might have missed. Chris's eyelashes fluttered, and soon he woke up. Instinctively, he looked at Emily, and noticed she was staring at him. His face instantly turned red. His eyes shifted awkwardly. "Why are you looking at me like that?" he asked. Emily curled her lips into a faint smile. "Chris. Did you like me all along?" Chris said nothing. That expression again. After 4 years as debate partners, Emily knew immediately she had guessed right. She suddenly felt like teasing him. "If that's not the case," she said lightly, "then why did you rush toward me in such a panic when you knew I was in danger?" Chris opened his mouth to explain, but the words seemed to get stuck. His face turned even redder, his ears too. Finally he forced himself to answer. "You came to this gathering because I invited you. If something happened to you on the way, I couldn't just ignore it." "Oh." Seeing that he wouldn't admit it, Emily lost interest in pushing further. She lay there quietly, trying to move her legs, but they wouldn't budge. Instead, a sharp wave of pain shot through them. She struggled to sit up. Chris hurried over to support her. "Don't move," he said. "The doctor said your leg is fractured. A broken bone takes months to heal, you need to rest." The rock that hit her had been massive. The moment it crushed her leg, Emily knew things were bad. Luckily, it had only caused a fracture. "Chris." "Yeah? I'll probably have to stay in the hospital for a while. Could you help me go to campus and pick up my diploma?" Chris looked at her seriously. Of course. Emily had originally planned to leave the city the moment she got her diploma. She loved the sunshine and ocean breeze of the West Coast, and she planned to work and settle there in the future. That had always been her plan. But Zach preferred the East Coast. As an only child, he said he couldn't leave his parents, which was why they had ended up in a long-distance relationship. Now that they had completely gone their separate ways, there was no such thing as long distance anymore. Strangely, thinking about it made her feel relieved. Without the burden of that relationship, she could finally pursue the life she actually wanted. Chris seemed nervous. After hesitating for a long time, he finally spoke. "Emily, I wanted to ask, where are you planning to go in the future?" "The West Coast. Los Angeles. Once my leg heals enough for me to walk, I'll buy a ticket and leave." Emily didn't hide anything from him. Although he was Zach's roommate, he was also one of the few friends she had made in college. Their friendship had nothing to do with Zach. They were simply teammates from the debate club. True to his word, Chris brought her diploma back the very next day. He also brought her a huge bouquet of roses. Emily's eyes lit up. Where did you get those? Chris smiled shyly. When I went to pick up the diplomas today, the younger students from the debate team gave them to me. They said congratulations on graduating. Emily burst out laughing. Those clever little kids, so thoughtful. During their junior and senior years, she and Chris had been the senior members of the debate team and had recruited many younger students. They were energetic and sharp. Not only were they quick to grasp debate topics, they were lively outside of practice too. Some of them had even joked that Emily and Chris looked like a perfect match, until they found out she had a boyfriend and stopped teasing her. Thinking back on it now, Emily suddenly felt nostalgic about the debate team days. You must be hungry, Chris said. I bought you some food downstairs. I think it's all stuff you like. He handed her a takeout box, the delicious aroma immediately filling the room. While Emily was eating happily, a loud argument suddenly erupted in the hospital hallway. The noise was so sharp it hurt her ears. What's going on out there? She asked Chris. Please don't tell me it's someone causing trouble with the doctors. If it is, go help the medical staff. She was joking on purpose. Chris had been working out regularly for 4 years in college. If he ever got into a fight, there probably wasn't anyone who could beat him. Chris stepped out to check. When he came back, he hesitated before speaking. It's Zach. Emily paused briefly with her chopsticks, but only for a moment. Then she calmly continued eating. She didn't ask anything, but Chris explained anyway. I listened for a bit. Sounds like Zach just found out Ashley's mom was pretending to be sick to trick him into marriage. He's furious. Chris glanced up to watch Emily's reaction. Emily continued eating in silence. Finally Chris asked carefully, Emily, if Zach comes back to you, would you take him back? Emily shook her head without hesitation. That's impossible. We're done for good. Chris seemed to let out a long breath. Emily noticed and felt amused. She couldn't resist teasing him again. Chris, and you still say you don't like me? Otherwise why are you so concerned about my personal life? Chris's face turned red again. He stammered, unable to explain himself. Finally he gave up and admitted it. Yes. I like you, Emily. He looked up at her, a faint sparkle in his eyes, cautiously hopeful. So, what will you do? Emily smiled and crooked her finger at him. Come here. Chris leaned closer, still looking serious, though he clearly didn't know what she was planning. Emily leaned forward slightly and kissed him on the cheek. Chris froze. His face turned even redder, visibly so. He looked flustered. Emily, Emily's smile deepened. Well, since you like me, and I don't dislike you, why shouldn't we give it a try? Joy exploded in Chris's eyes. Really? Emily smiled softly. When have I ever lied to you? Just then, Zach happened to walk past the hospital room. Through the doorway, he saw Emily and Chris locked in an embrace, kissing passionately. Chris. You bastard. You dare touch my girlfriend? Zach stormed into the room in fury and threw a punch at Chris. Chris reacted quickly and dodged easily. He even counterpunched, knocking Zach to the floor. Zach glared at him resentfully. I knew you had feelings for Emily. I just didn't expect you to steal my girlfriend while I wasn't around. What kind of person are you? Emily watched Zach's outburst expressionlessly, as if observing a stranger who had nothing to do with her. Chris laughed. Your girlfriend? Aren't you already married, Zach? Your wife is in the next hospital room. Oh right, and your sick mother-in-law too. Chris's sarcasm made Zach's face instantly turn dark. You know that marriage was fake. Zach protested. He tried to explain himself as if anyone would actually believe it. Chris sneered. Come on. A fake marriage doesn't look like that. Zach, you and Ashley have been acting suspiciously all through college. Don't think everyone else is blind. Zach's expression changed dramatically when his dirty secret was exposed. He hurried over to Emily, trying to explain. Emily, don't listen to him. Chris just wants to steal you away. He's been secretly in love with you for years. He reached for her hand, but she pulled away. Emily turned her gaze aside, unwilling even to look at him, as if his presence might dirty her eyes. Mr. Zach, please watch your boundaries, she said coldly. I'm Chris's girlfriend now. Zach froze in shock. What? I never agreed to break up, Emily. Emily rolled her eyes. Zach, you're a married man. Stop embarrassing yourself in front of me, okay? If you keep this up, I'll call the police. Seeing how decisively Emily spoke, Zach's face turned pale with anger. He glared at Chris. This is all you're doing, isn't it? You knew I had other things to deal with these past few days, so you deliberately kept hanging around Emily. Chris simply sneered and said nothing. No matter how many times Zach repeated such ridiculous claims, no one would believe him. Zach still tried to win Emily back. Nian Nian, I know I messed up before. I should have explained things to you earlier. I'm sorry. Ashley and her mom tricked me, I only just found out. I'll cut ties with her completely. Tomorrow, I'll file for divorce. He looked at Emily with deep affection. Nian Nian, you're pregnant, right? When I come back, I'll marry you. The three of us can live happily together. Emily shoved him away coldly, all patience gone. What kind of fantasy world are you living in, Zach? You want to marry when you feel like it, divorce when you feel like it, and somehow everything should revolve around you? What do you think I am, your personal property? She stared at him with disgust. Zach, when I think about the 4 years I spent with you in college, it makes me sick. Zach stood there stunned, clearly hurt by her words. Perhaps in his memory, Emily had always been gentle and understanding. She never said cruel things. Even when she was angry, she remained soft and measured. And because she had always been so forgiving, he thought he could betray her so casually, marrying someone else over a stupid game and a stranger's supposed dying wish. But Zach refused to accept what Emily had said. He kept trying to argue, desperately hoping she would take him back. Emily looked away impatiently. Chris, I don't want to see someone who makes me sick anymore. It makes me feel like throwing up. Chris pushed Zach out of the hospital room. But Zach kept shouting from the hallway. Emily, we were together for 4 years. You can't just cut it off like that. Wait for me. Just give me 2 more days, I'll completely cut ties with Ashley. The noise was unbearable. Emily had no interest in listening to a barking dog. The day Emily was finally able to stand on her feet again, Ashley stormed into her hospital room aggressively. Emily, you shameless woman. You know Zach and I are married, why are you still interfering? Did you say something to him? Is that why he suddenly insists on divorcing me? He loves me so much. Ashley actually had the nerve to come play the victim in front of Emily. Unfortunately for her, Emily hated that kind of act more than anything. Without hesitation, she slapped Ashley across the face. Wash that filthy mouth of yours. Emily snapped. Stop coming to people and spewing nonsense like that. Ashley stared at her in disbelief. How can you talk so horribly? Emily sneered. If you and that trashy man of yours keep bothering me, I can say much worse. Emily couldn't stand staying in that city even one more day. The moment she could walk again, she had Chris help her complete the discharge paperwork. Then she immediately bought a plane ticket for that very afternoon, to Los Angeles on the West Coast. Chris moved there with her. You like Los Angeles, he said. I like it too. Don't forget, we've always been on the same wavelength. Emily couldn't help laughing. It was true. When she first met Chris, she had once joked that if he had been a woman, they probably would have become best friends. Unfortunately, he was a man, and she already had a boyfriend. But in reality, it didn't have to be that complicated. All she had needed to do was break up with that awful man. And suddenly everything made sense. Half a month after arriving in Los Angeles, Emily's leg had improved significantly. She had also found a good job. Chris moved in with her. Every evening after work he would cook dinner for her. After eating, the two of them would curl up on the couch, watching shows and chatting. Life felt relaxed and happy. That was when Zach finally called. Emily only answered because the number was unfamiliar. After their breakup, she had blocked every contact of his. Unfortunately, he hadn't realized it at the time. Later he must have discovered it, because he kept calling from different numbers. Emily, he said anxiously, I heard you left the city. Where did you go? I'll come find you. He said he had panicked when he couldn't reach her. He said she was the most important person in his life, that he couldn't lose her, that he couldn't live without her. Emily listened to the lies calmly. She was cracking sunflower seeds while half watching a TV drama. Only when Zach finally ran out of things to say did she speak. Zach, she said lightly, are you coming to attend my wedding? I didn't expect you to hear the news so quickly. He didn't understand. What? I'm getting married to Chris, Emily said. The wedding is next week. You're welcome to come. Zach fell silent. He didn't say a single word for a long time. Eventually the call ended. Emily didn't even notice who hung up first. But it didn't matter anymore. None of it mattered. All she knew was that her life was good. And everything was just beginning. At this point, some people might ask, did Emily move on too quickly? Was she just using Chris to heal from her previous relationship? But the truth is, Emily and Chris's relationship didn't start suddenly. They had spent 4 years together on the debate team. 4 years of quiet attention and support. 4 years of Chris subtly warning her about Zach and Ashley. 4 years of him keeping the perfect distance, never crossing boundaries, yet never leaving her side. Some people enter your life as lovers. And some people gradually become your soulmate, quietly stepping into your world. Emily dated Zach for 4 years, yet he never told her he was allergic to peanuts. Ashley knew. Zach never tied her shoelaces, yet he knelt so naturally to tie Ashley's. Zach was never there when she needed him most, and during the tunnel collapse, he chose to turn and walk away. But Chris? When Emily was trapped in that tunnel, while everyone else was running out, Chris ran against the crowd to reach her. That wasn't a moment of impulse. It was 4 years of feelings finally overflowing into instinct. So when Emily asked him if he had liked her all along, Chris didn't deny it. Because something he had hidden for 4 years no longer needed to stay hidden. People often say the best way to forget a relationship is to start a new one. But I don't think that's true. Starting a new relationship isn't about forgetting the past, it's about realizing what you truly need. Emily needed someone who would show up the moment she needed him. Someone willing to move against the current for her. Someone who would run toward her, even when the whole world was running away. And Chris was exactly that person. So remember, marriage is not the end. Marriage isn't the destination. Meeting the wrong person isn't the end either. The real end is when you give up on yourself, when you believe that kind of love is all you deserve. Emily didn't give up on herself. At her most painful moment, she chose to walk away. At her hardest moment, she chose to face things alone. And at her most hopeless moment, she found the person who was truly meant for her. So her story isn't an ending. It's a beginning. Thank you for listening to today's story. If you enjoy our channel, please subscribe, like, and share. See you next time.